Hello, everyone. This is Salisbury. Hope you're doing well. I was talking to a friend tonight, actually about a couple interesting topics. We had a PhD class tonight, and in the PhD class, we had a professor. It's in fuzzy logic is the class, and it's pretty cool. But my professor, he basically set up he's setting us up for kind of like the future of the class. And he's telling us about the history of fuzzy AI and sort of different kinds of like binary thinking. And the class was about Aristotle and Buddha. So basically completely different ways to think. So Aristotle was a reductionist. He was more of a black and white thinker. Not really black and white. He found a middle way and so forth, like if you get into particulars, but he was more of a materialist, reductionist, and sort of a like this is right, this is wrong sort of thinker. And Buddha was sort of like okay, this way. Aristotle is much more like light on, light off. So like lights on, lights off. Buddha was like light on, light off, or we have a dial, like a dimmer switch, and we can like we can change the light to any level. And we're okay with that. Whatever's going on, we're okay with it. So the interesting part is that the Buddhist type of thinking is more Plato, which would be like Platonic thinking. And Aristotle was sort of like this other, more rigid way. And Western thought and Western engineers really work on, it's almost like brute force. You almost have to do more to dial that in because you're not able to use the dial. So with Aristotle thinking, but you're getting more accuracy with Aristotle. So this guy who created fuzzy logic, which is if you own a washing machine, if you own a refrigerator, if you've been on a plane, if you pretty much any technology you use that requires accuracy, it uses fuzzy logic systems. Fuzzy is actually a technical term. So it's just a different way to think. So when we were talking about this, it's just interesting when you realize, so you hear about AGI and like AI and all these terms today. And when you build these systems and they're using generative, they're based on mathematics, which is basically gradient descents and different value structures, and then relationship, back propagation and so forth. And they're very chaotic in the way that these like deep learning systems are. So sort of like machine learning would be like your most accurate, deep learning would be like less accurate, and then generative AI would be like very inaccurate compared to the precise, to the point where you would measure like a really good fuzzy AI system, which would be more like akin to a more accurate system. You'd be looking at like 0.0064, 0.002 type of, or even more accurate measurements. So you're getting just like very precise determined outcomes. Generative, you're like 2% hallucination, and there's more than that, and it's chaos. So we picked my point is we picked a foundational model in the United States of deep learning, and then we all believe this fantasy, I guess, or whatever we all believe becomes the truth, that deep learning is the way to go. They created a transformer, and they built this structure, ChatGPT, Anthropic, Gemini, all these things on these deep learning models, which are chaotic and they're very tough to control. We don't know how they're made. I mean, we know how to make them, but they're not, you don't know why it's saying the things it says. It's hard to get like mechanistic interpretability is what it's called. So you can build the models differently. You don't have to build them with artificial neural networks. You can build them with fuzzy neural networks, and you get more accuracy. So you know why it says what it says. It's like why it's saying it. You get tons of accuracy. It doesn't go off the rails. All these other problems. That's possible. And the United States has invested all this money on the technical debt side for these deep learning, artificial neural network sort of like explorations. And we're just stacking on technical debt. So it's very brute force approach. I would say it's not very brute force, but it's more brute force than these more elegant solutions. China may not have invested as much on the technical debt and may be exploring more based on number of papers submitted and so forth. And they may be building it in a more elegant way. So what does that mean? You get better accuracy, The energy level that goes out on this is just incredibly less. You're talking many, 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 many magnitudes less of energy usage. So there is a company in the United States, Liquid AI, which does things a little differently. They're using more like a fuzzy AI system, in my opinion, more biological based. And their energy levels are just considerably, like massively considerably less. Their computational cycles it takes, way less. So you don't need the chips that you need, they go down. So you don't need as big of chips. Secondly, you actually need less power. So you don't have to build as much power. So those two things happen. In fact, you can run these on smaller devices and all this kind of stuff, and you get higher accuracy and it's safer because we know why it's doing what it's doing. So why in the world aren't we doing that? Why are we not trying to build something that's more explainable, that's safer, that we're happy to like have our drive our kids and all this kind of stuff? Why would we not want that as our goal? And when you think about it, that actually could be our demise. Overconfidence is the absolute destroyer of progress. Quality over quantity usually wins to some degree. Eventually it scales into more quantitative approach. Did we pick the right base layer? I find this an interesting question. I'm not the expert on all things. I'm a learner. I'm probably wrong on 95% of what I'm saying. But I'll put this out here and see what I get from a reaction standpoint. Have a good night.